Hello, my dear friends and family. Operator Starsky here. Did you miss me? I missed you too. Oh my god. As always, armed with coffee. Coffee is a must-have, especially here 11 a.m. and the weather is kind of gross, a bit depressing. I freaking love it because this is the perfect weather for today's winter. No snow. It's cold still and wet and gray. Absolutely perfect. Absolutely something that I got used to over those numerous deployments I had that would always take place in winter, autumn, between seasons. Anyways, it's so good to see you, my friends. It's so good to be able to stream again, talk again, because literally, where have I been? My friend, 2 weeks of sickness, literally. Couldn't talk because I had tonsils and I had my tonsils not removed since childhood. My mom told me that it's her to blame. All right, it's her to blame for not removing my tonsils. It wasn't me. Good morning, I missed you too. Andreas, oh my god, Katya here, and Betsy, and Steve, and everyone else. So first week I spent literally trying not to die while eating something. It was really hard to swallow the food, very hard to talk. Then I had sinusitis. That was the second week, and sinusitis, I acquired it in the army as well. I remember we had this very, very long march. It was in autumn, it wasn't cold, sun was shining and stuff like that, but we were running and then we found a well, we drank some cold water, and since that time I have sinusitis. And basically that's the thing. And then the next week I was busy trying to make up for the days that I lost not making videos, not streaming and things like that for the UATV as well. So here I am. But fuck the sickness, fuck all that shit. Let's talk about something that I experienced last week, because last week we went to Dresden actually with my lady, and it was insane. First of all, I got to visit the Christmas market. Generally, Dresden, it was a former Eastern Germany, former Soviet part of Germany. It was very interesting to see all the buildings that look very, very familiar, all right, because they were built according to the Soviet standards, and everything else was really cool. Then I visited the Christmas market. Again, it was very exciting. I spent some time standing here. Then I spent some time standing here. It was cool. And we also had Kartoffelpuffe. Do you know what Kartoffelpuffe is? Basically, it's like deruny, like Ukrainian deruny, pancakes made out of potato. And only in Germany I tried pancakes made out of potato with apple syrup. Guys, it's amazing. You can't imagine how good it is, all right? So, unless you live in Germany, of course. And we had Kartoffelpuffe. Actually, I didn't know that potato stuff may taste well with apple stuff. It was a discovery that I actually made last year when I was meeting Michael and Angelika in Düsseldorf. It was interesting, yeah, and these ones, they were good, like 2 Kartoffelpuffes, and we were completely fat. And we also had those, dear German friends, help me out here. How do you call those, like, round things? They are sweet, they're made out of dough, they're sweet, and they sometimes come with raisins or something else. They look like donuts, only they're round. They're called quark something. I forgot the word because it's one of the crazier German words, so I forgot how to pronounce it, but we had two of those, and they were absolutely awesome. So I enjoyed that. In Dresden, you have some of the in Dresden, you have some of the oldest Christmas markets in the world. Quarktaschen. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Quarktaschen. Yeah. I think it is. Like, it's round, it's big, it's kind of fried, and it's so delicious. Oh my god. And then accidentally, quark means that it's a fresh cheese made from buttermilk. I gotta keep that in mind. And then accidentally we were in the tram, and we were going back to the train station where we had to spend like 6 hours, all right, in the evening, cold, dark and stuff. And accidentally I noticed our tram was passing by some probably restaurant called Odessa, and the fact is Odessa was written in Cyrillics. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, we gotta check it out. And I checked it on Google. Turned out that it was a Ukrainian restaurant. Well, of course, Odessa is a Ukrainian city. So we jumped out of the tram, rushed to the restaurant, and we had some of the most amazing mushroom soups and salmon steaks. And I also wanted to order some like meat steaks, some beef stuff. I thought that would be just too much, but it was so good. Andreas have a nice work, all right. It's a working day for normal people. In fact, I am a bit hungry because my lady is not here, and actually I had no breakfast. I had coffee, obviously, but I had no breakfast yet, which is a crime. You cannot work before you have breakfast. Odessa restaurant in Dresden. If you are there, or if you're planning to visit the city itself, check it out. Go straight to Odessa restaurant. You will be impressed. It's just, everything is so delicious. The prices are absolutely surprisingly fine. Everything is delicious. And Mirko here asks me when do we start the stream. Let me just make a small message. Mirko, стрім уже почався. Ми всі чекаємо на тебе. So, after that, we spent 3 more hours at the cold train station. It wasn't really cold, but I don't know. Don't they know who you are? My friend, please don't overestimate my fame, all right? I am like an ordinary man, all right? Nobody knows me. After that, we went home, and basically here I am. But I wanted to share something really, really cool with you, my friends. Because while staying in Dresden, we decided to visit several local attractions, all right? We went to the Fraukirche, I guess. So like ladies' church. It was an impressive church. I have no photos, obviously, but it was an impressive church that was completely destroyed during the World War II by the bombing, and it was later restored. And what I know about Dresden is that generally the city was completely erased by the bombings from the Allied troops. And yeah, Frauenkirche, yeah, exactly. And later it was restored completely. They took all the photos of the buildings that were destroyed, like churches, like castles, like everything else. And they completely restored everything. They rebuilt everything that looks exactly like it was before the war. But what I didn't know, that majority of those things were restored, or not majority, but at least a big number of those things were restored like after the collapse of the USSR. The Frauenkirche, the ruins, were there in the downtown of Dresden for freaking how much? Freaking 60 or 50 years. 50 years. People would go to the Dresden downtown and see a bunch of ruins in the downtown. And the Soviet regime would tell them that it's just a reminder for you to remember that the war is bad, all right? As soon as Germany reunited, they started excavating, putting everything together, and they brought up a church. And it's amazing, it looks exactly like it was before the war. It's just so beautiful. And there is Frauenkirche, there is a bunch of other places. And besides that, on the other bank of Elba, there is a Stasi headquarters, and that's where I went with my lady, because I went to one in Berlin, the primary, chief headquarters of German Stasi, where Milke was sitting and ruling his spies. And in Dresden, they had another headquarters. And I went there. The two most interesting facts about this Stasi place is, first, it was ruled by Soviet regime. The Soviet prison was there before Stasi took over. Soviet prison was there where they would keep prisoners, of course, German prisoners primarily. And later they built the new Stasi prison over this place, the Stasi department, the headquarters. And that is where I went. And second most interesting fact about this place is that just across the road there was a KGB villa where Putin worked. And he would visit the Stasi headquarters very, very often. So that's where I went, all right. And here I have a photo of a cellar. That is not just an ordinary cellar. Generally, that is that is the Soviet prison. That is where people were held, all right? Where people were kept in those cells. Before it became a Soviet prison, it was a paper factory. And later, when Soviets took over, they turned it into a prison where they would keep 5-7 men in cells like this. So basically, when you enter this cell, and it's cold, and you can see like that double bed made of wood inside, and 7 people would live there. That's the whole room, people. Like on the left, behind the frame. On the left, there would be like a big bucket where you would poop and pee, all right? And that's basically it. That's where the prisoners would live. So they would get arrested, they would get brought to this place, they would get packed into this cell, then they would be tried by Soviet regime. And the interesting way they were trying people, all right, is they would do that in German language, but the protocol would be in Russian language, so the prisoners would not even understand like what's in the paper. And mostly they would either sentence them to death or to 25 years in the Russian Gulag. Russian Gulag is basically the name for the Russian concentration camps. Russia had approximately 100 concentration camps for its people and also foreign people, primarily for its people, located all around Russia. That's where the prisoners would spend months of their lives, not years. They would spend those years in the camp somewhere, but there they would spend some months of their lives, and it was like this place is horrible. And the smell of it, it's very hard to tell how it smells. Like it smells like prison, smells like barracks, smells like fear, smells like death. Actually, smells like Soviet. That's the word. Smells like Soviet. Later, Stasi built their own prison, more, I cannot call it more humane prison, but like more modern prison, right? With cells for 2 people, some cells are for like 3 or 5 people, I think 3 people. And Murray Duncan, hello, my friend. Don't worry, everyone is late today, including myself. Yeah, but this one is the modern Stasi prison. So in the cellar they have that prison that was used by the Soviets, and then they also built 4 floors of cells. That prison is 4 cells, all right? 4 floors. It was insane. Again, people that would be brought there awaiting their trial and spending some time there, usually a year or 2, arrested for things like visiting the representation office of Western Germany, all right, in Eastern Germany. If you visit, you go to jail, obviously. Arrested for things like that, arrested for listening rock music, arrested for, I don't know, having something made in the Western Germany. It was crazy. Guys, the very museum is packed with different listening devices, different surveillance devices, cameras installed in suitcases. So, for example, you're sitting in the cafeteria somewhere having coffee with your friends, discussing something. Next to you, there's a dude with a suitcase. And in the suitcase, there is like this like buckle, the camera installed in the buckle, and they record you. And then they bring it to the headquarters, they analyze the footage. There were a lot of different devices used to open mail, read mail, to open your parcels, for example, if you're sending something or receiving something, of course, by mail. They would open the parcels, they would check things, and I worked in the police, I know what it means, you know, in the law enforcement. You always have a lot of limits, all right? Because if you want to be more effective in terms of fighting crime, you have to be able to infiltrate the crime rings. You have to be able to conduct surveillance and everything else. In many cases, this, of course, means violating human rights, let's be honest. And you have this dilemma: either you violate human rights or you are extremely not efficient in fighting crimes. That's the dilemma in the police in any country of the world. But even with all that, it's hard to comprehend what sort of human beings would spy on their people. There were wives and husbands that were spying on each other. They were secret employees. 5,000 secret employees in Dresden itself. Overall, in the Eastern Germany, with a population of, I believe, 20-25 million people, Stasi had approximately 900,000 secret employees, the spies, the informers that would work on them. Every 20th person on the street is a spy. How crazy is that? And of course, they didn't invent anything. They were taught and trained by Russia, by Russian KGB. So Soviets moved out from this place. This is what it looks like, this white building. And looking at it, you will never tell that there is a prison, actually. Currently, there's like people living, in this place. There are apartments and the museum itself. And looking at it, you would never tell that there is a prison, of course. Everything was kept in secret. People that were arrested, they would be brought somewhere. They would never know where they're going, where they're brought, right? They would never go. They would be brought there in the cars without windows, in the complete atmosphere of secrecy and fear, and they didn't know what is going on. And the reason the Stasi did it was because they understood that they didn't want to provoke people. Of course, if people understand that they're being kidnapped and everything else and repressed, of course, there was a risk of uprising. That's what Russians taught them. And that is why they would snatch someone secretly, all right, not on public. They would put people in cuffs, put them in the car that was disguised as bread delivery, all right, like big truck delivering bread. They would put people there, and there were those tiny cells for kidnapped prisoners, right? Without windows, where they would just pack people, and then they would bring them somewhere. All right, you go out of this truck, you don't know where you are, everything is closed, and then they would bring you to the prison and start basically processing your data. That is what KGB and KVD taught them. So when you look at this building, there is a road in front of it, and just across this road there's a villa, and in this villa the Soviets, the KGB had their cell, all right, and they were like best friends. Imagine you are like your country, all right, any country, your country you're at, all right, at the moment. Imagine that you have an office of your security service, all right, your state security service. And across the road, there is an office, for example, of North Korean intelligence, North Korean KGB, all right? And your guys have a drink with those guys on a daily basis. They meet each other, they throw events all the time. I don't like, even if you are in the United States, all right, and across the road from the CIA building, there is, for example, I don't know, Australian intelligence office, all right? That would be crazy, because what's the point? But again, Eastern Germany was basically part of Soviet regime for decades, and they were completely controlled, even though they were. It was officially stated that Eastern Germany was basically a free country with like their free governance and stuff like that. But the fact is they were completely throughout controlled by KGB, by Kremlin. And in that villa, Putin worked. actually. What we know is that he worked in the attic, and what he did, he was basically recruiting spies, all right? Stasi were recruiting spies for Germany, and Putin was recruiting spies for Russia, all right? Like, they were recruiting... Fuck. Okay, imagine you're working in the CIA, all right? Across the road from you, there is, for example, MI6 office, okay, the UK intelligence. And you meet the guys, you have coffee, and they ask you, so how many informants did you recruit yesterday for CIA? You're going like, well, I recruited like 3 people. The guy goes, well, I recruited a bunch of your fellow comrades, Americans, yesterday to spy for United Kingdom. And you shake hands. Like, aside of alliance and friendship and partnership, there are some places where, you know, some fields of, some spheres of interest should not intersect like that. Fuck. So Putin would sometimes go to the headquarters. There is a letter in this museum by Horst blah blah blah, the chief of the Stasi in Dresden. There is a congratulation letter. He congratulates Putin with 30-something years, because it was in the 80s, I believe. And there are actually pictures of Putin, widely known around the world as Huilo. In that very place, there is like this big hall. And when I entered this hall, like events hall, I had immediate flashback because everything looked so Soviet, you know, those fake wooden panels, those television, everything else, the podium, everything was so Soviet, because in many places of Ukraine you still have like remains of that, all right? I saw that, and that's something I remember from my childhood when my father served at the military base. All right, he would take me to that military base time to time. I was like 3-5 years old, and we would go to the Soviet military base with those statues of Lenin, with the club, that's what they call the club, the event hall, with wooden panels, with all those things, the podium. I even remember the smell. I even remember the texture of the floor, all right? And in Dresden, in the Stasi headquarters, everything was completely the same. Because it was basically built by the same people. By the same people. How crazy is that? So there are pictures of Huilo being awarded, being congratulated, and things like that. So he spent some quality time there. He was there with his wife, actually. In Germany, he was staying with his wife, with his 2 daughters. Later, as far as I remember, when he became the Russian dictator, his daughters kept living abroad, because why the hell would they live in the stinking Russia if they can live abroad in Switzerland, in Austria, in Germany, anywhere, Japan. And then, of course, with the sanctions and everything else, his daughter were forced to return home, where, of course, they were assigned, they were given positions in the Russian government. So approximately 20 Putin's relatives are employed by the regime. So that trip was insane, and visiting those cells, visiting those, like prison showers, that is, I don't know. In the police, I got used to deal with criminals. I got used to deal with people that were accused of murder, that were accused of terrorism. drunk people, people who misbehave, public disorder, things like that. That's something I am accustomed to, all right? Those people. In Stasi prison, they would keep normal guys, normal people from the street, men, women, people that didn't do anything wrong, people that never violated anything, people that didn't do crimes. There is like this very, very cold cell for women that were kept in the official wing of the Stasi department. And they were kept there as basically servants. So they would do laundry, clean everything, And there is like this big doll, like rag doll that was made by one of the prisoners. And looking at that, you understand that people should see more of this, all right? If you want to understand terror Russia, if you want to understand what dictatorship really means, you should see more of that. In those cells, guys, I'm walking around those cells, I'm looking at the beds and everything else. Immediately, my imagination is, portraying some like criminals sitting there, and then I'm like, dude, they were not criminals. There was nothing from the criminal culture, all right, nothing related to criminal culture, nothing related to convicts, nothing related to the Russian criminal culture as well. No, they were just normal people, ordinary people that were repressed, all right? Because again, when you go to like any prison, all right, any prison in the world, any jail, you will see like a lot of graffiti on the walls, a lot of crap like that. That was a very clean prison because normal people were there, all right? People that were very, very far from the criminal culture. People that didn't do anything wrong. And that was absolutely insane, my friends. In fact, in Ukraine, we also had a lot of political prisons. There's a lot of them in Western Ukraine. From the Soviet times, and there are several prisons, I believe, like Vinnytsia, Ivano-Frankivsk, Lviv, the NKVD, where you can visit those places and see, for example, graffiti that were left by the prisoners. And again, in 90% cases, they're just normal people arrested for being smart, for having a degree, all right? Arrested for having relations with the religion, arrested for visiting church, arrested for not giving their food to the Russian invaders back in those days, 30s, 40s. And there were graffiti left by those people who actually, I don't know, either leave their names there and year and things like that. So, though, like, I had a bit of those vibes. That's insane. The way the regime is treating its own population is absolutely insane. But then on the other hand, you understand why they're doing that. Because the very reason for dictatorship to exist is to be able to repress its people. That's the only purpose, all right? That's the only purpose of any tyranny out there in the world. To repress, all right? To commit violence against its population and people abroad. So, place that is absolutely worth visiting. Friends, if you are going to Berlin or if you or Rana, it's fine. It's very, very good that you made it, all right, to my stream. It's very good to see you. Have a nice work. Good evening, but now hard work. Wait a minute. Are you working in the evening? Let me know. So, if you're going to Berlin or if you're going to Dresden, two places that are very much worth visiting. the Stasi headquarters in Berlin and Stasi headquarters in Dresden. Absolutely. 100%. Those places should be visited by, I don't know, by students, all right, by school people. They should be visited by students. What else can I say? I had a lot of I didn't have depressing feelings from visiting this place, but I was just, how to say it, I wasn't depressed, but I was stunned. I was depressed after visiting Berlin, all right, because Berlin is actually, especially Berlin downtown, the Bundestag building, etc., etc. It's full of memories and reminders about the war, about the wall, about repressions. So it's full of memories about the Holocaust, genocide, and other atrocities committed by the Nazi Germans. And then it's full of reminders about atrocities committed by the Soviet regime against the German people. All right, so there you have memorials dedicated to the victims of the Holocaust, gypsies, Jews, homosexuals, like everyone they repressed. And there you have a lot of memorials dedicated to people that were shot trying to cross the wall, all right? And that place was very depressing. I didn't visit many other places, mostly historical places in Berlin last year. Stasi headquarters, of course. But coming home from Berlin, I felt depressed, you know. Here in Dresden, I didn't feel depressed. I felt like I was in the club, in that Soviet-style club, standing there looking at the table with like drinks, like it's decorated as if they just had like a party there, all right? And there are photos on this table showing Putin literally receiving some award from German Stasi. And I'm like standing on the same place. I'm like, yeah, oh shit. Like I felt disgust. And it was a very, very interesting experience. Generally, that place, oh my God. Besides all the Stasi shit and Russian shit, Dresden, extremely beautiful place, a lot of beautiful architecture that, again, was rebuilt and rebuilt in the recent years, mostly after the collapse of the Soviet Union, because when the Soviet Union finally withdrew, or the Soviet regime finally withdrew from the Eastern Germany, the Germany's became ruled by people who actually cared, all right? So they rebuilt everything, all the castles, all the attractions, and again, the Christmas market was absolutely amazing. I wanted to try the eye punch, but I discovered that it contains alcohol, so I didn't risk, all right? In Slovakia, I can recommend the museums dedicated to Holocaust and Porajmos victims and political prisoners in Sered, and the Museum of the Victims of Communism in Košice. Absolutely. If I'm in Slovakia, I will definitely go there, my friend. I'm gonna make a... Wait a second. I'm gonna screenshot your commentary because I need to preserve this. Okay. Yeah, so returning to Dresden, it's a beautiful place. Reminds me kind of Ukraine, like the architecture, like some of the specifics, the streets, they kind of remind me of Ukraine a bit. Like generally Germany, and especially Eastern Germany, is so similar, but at the same time so different that it's absolutely insane. What else? Guys, also please let me know if you know some additional places around Germany, for example, like those Stasi museums worth visiting, preferably somewhere not in the far eastern Germany, all right, so somewhere in the eastern Germany, that are worth visiting. I would definitely go there and check them out. And also Andreas invited me to another location, but I got sick and unfortunately I couldn't go. I still hope that I will be able to. What do we talk next? I'm surprised no one is talking about Trump-Putin meeting. Let's talk about Trump-Putin meeting. Funniest thing that I remember from 2022 was when... Barigo says, when it comes to values, Western Germany is much closer to Ukraine than Eastern Germany. Hard to say. For example, in München, but München is more southern Germany, right? Well, you know better, all right? You know better. If you're local, you know better. We were talking about Trump-Putin meeting. Yeah, so the funniest thing that I've heard from 2022 was when Russians on the streets were asked, you know, there is this blogger, I think 1420 or something like that, he asked the local Russian citizens, how do they feel like, what does it feel like to have North Korea, Iran, Cuba, Syria, former Syria, the Bashar Assad Syria, as your closest allies after being a member of G8, after being a more or less respectful member of the international civilized society. What does it feel like now to be best friends with North Koreans and Taliban? And some people were like, meh, like I don't care. The other people were like, holy we would go to France, we would travel to Italy, we would go to European capitals, and now we are offered to go to the freaking family resort in the North Korea somewhere. Or like Afghanistan. All right. Welcome to the beautiful Afghanistan. Don't forget to bring your hijab. So people were, you know, I knew that Russians will cope. I knew that Russians will be like, all right, we were respected by Europeans. Now we are basically best friends with Talibs. So fucking what? I will deal with this somehow, all right? I will cope. Now, looking at Trump saying that Europe is impotent and basically European Union is the biggest threat, I'm quoting, European Union is the bigger threat to the US than Russia. I imagine some American blogger in the nearest future asking the same questions to the American people. God forbid. But can you imagine, my dear American friends, waking up sometime in the morning, turning on your PC or your television, watching news about, I don't know, Donald Trump meeting his Afghani colleagues, all right, and having tea together, discussing the matter of fighting terrorism together with his Taliban friends, or like waking up, understanding that United States are aligned with Russia, with China, with BRICS, basically, and what will be your feeling? Let me know, because I'm not American. I cannot imagine what will it feel like. I need to know. Good thing is that at the meeting that took place, I believe yesterday, right, between Ukrainian president and the European leaders, there are a lot of very powerful, I would say, powerful narratives about Europe now standing united, necessity to stand united, all right, against the challenges. One of the challenges is that the United States, Trump, the White House, might align with the enemies of the European Union, like China, like North Korea, like Taliban, and maybe we will see sometime in the future, we will see, for example, United States sending Bradleys not to Ukraine but to Russia, for example, or I don't know, sending Striker vehicles to like North Koreans. It's possible in 2025 and in upcoming 2026, everything is possible now. So maybe we'll see that. And it's very good that current European leadership understands that it's very important, it's crucial actually, to stay united against those challenges. The problem is the ignorance of current European governments, because they would not react until the fried rooster bites them in the ass, all right? And for example, in Germany, you can see the growing influence of movements like AfD that become more and more popular. Why are they becoming more popular? Even despite the fact that it's a known fact that AfD is harboring Russian spies, AfD is harboring Chinese spies, AfD goes to the occupied territories, visits Kremlin, collects defense data on their own country, and who knows where this data goes after that. Even despite the fact that there is a lot of former communists and current Nazi, all right, in the AfD. How is it possible for AfD to be so popular? Almost 20%, all right, of support. So the answer is they're populist country, and there are a lot of problems in Germany that require fixing. And at this point, the only party that actually offers some kind of solution to those problems, even though they're not perfect solutions, but they're currently they're the only solutions, that's AfD. And of course, they will never care about solving those problems. They will only care about increasing the Kremlin's influence in Germany. That's, again, my clear understanding. And they will care about other things. They will care about Germany exiting EU and NATO, just like other marginal movements in other countries of Europe, and basically dissolution of the European Union and NATO. And that is something that is making Russians very, very happy, all right? Because they don't consider Russia a threat. They consider Russia good friends, buddies, and basically their masters. So besides that, they are populistically offering solutions for problems, economic problems, social problems that democratic countries, parties, a lot of conservative parties included, they just don't have, all right? And they literally have nothing to offer. Dear Germans, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the main reason why AfD is growing in popularity, because their whole agenda is not built on the idea that, okay, our society is so diverse, we have to unite it somehow, all right? We have a lot of people coming from Turkey. We have a lot of people coming from Ukraine. We have a lot of people coming from Muslim countries. We have multinational country, all right? So logically, what do you do with a country with so many different peoples of different races, religions, and ethnicities? What do? You try to establish some sort of integration, all right? You're trying to build your society on those people. You're trying to come up with a solution to build a society where both Muslims, Christians, atheists would feel okay. They would be free to do what they do what they like, all right, according to their culture, and be able to coexist, all right? You're trying to unite. You're trying to solidify your society. That's something that is logic. But it's hard. It requires a lot of work. It requires inventing solutions. If you are like AfD, you build, or MAGA, for example, you build your whole policy on not uniting. You build your whole policy on repressing, all right? Immigrants, fuck immigrants. Muslims, fuck Muslims. Christians were here all the time. Whatever. Buddhists, fuck Buddhists, all right? ICE will deal with that. And you are trying to unite your electorate not around uniting society, not around the idea of making strong country built on different cultures, but you're uniting your people on the idea of fighting against everyone else. And that is fucking Nazi, all right? That is the way the Adolf did, all right? So I don't know. You have a lot of Turkish people in your neighborhood, all right? You have some kind of administration, you have Turkish people here, you have Syrian people here, you have German people here, and you have a bunch of, Chinese immigrants here. What do you do? How do you come up with the solution? How do you unite them? Fucking go and talk to those people. Establish communication with the Chinese society. Establish communication with the Turkish community. All right? Go, talk. Use police. This is what we do all the time. We just go and talk to people. All right? Establish communication. Ask what they need. Find the elderly, find the elders, all right? Find the people who command, who are in charge in those communities, and decide on keeping everything in order. Basically, that's the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Fucking do that. Fucking try. It works. My God. Do some kind of events together. Look at the United States, all right, pre-Trump. Look at the United States pre-Trump. United States is comparably a young country, which consists of fucking whole earth. I mean, the representatives of the whole earth, of representatives of every given religion and country and nation and ethnicity. And isn't that something that made the US the strongest country in the world? Again, pre-Trump. Isn't that the reason? Maybe it is. And to some, I don't know, for some reason, all right? For some reason, I cannot explain, the United States managed not only to survive, to develop itself into a leading economy of the world, strongest country, two strongest air forces of the world. And they did that having so many different people with different cultures. How was that possible? Well, it's because they made it work. They established communication between the communities. And when you have strong communication between the communities, you have order, you have peace, you have cooperation, all right? If your communication between communities sucks balls, you always have all sorts of white power skinheads, you always have all sorts of fascist people from any given community, all right, that will be fighting each other. You will have discrimination if you don't have proper communication established. And in order to have that communication, you have to maintain it year after year, all right? Does it help if you just tell your service to literally, I don't know, expel all the people that are not native on this land? That doesn't help communication much, I think. And I think if Trump wants to expel all the immigrants from the United States and only leave the native people in the United States, I think he should pack his bags and go to Europe himself, because he's not a Native American, right? Just my thought. So the point is, your country will only survive and be strong if you build your policy on uniting, on unification of your society. If you build your society on the idea of oppressing everyone else, all right? If you build this on the idea of us versus them, all right? Our community of citizens of our country against those communities of citizens of our country. Okay, if you build this idea on this standpoint, eventually, because history saw this 1 million fucking times, eventually it will lead to a disaster. And one way or another, despite your efforts, in decades, the world will return to democracy, to establishing democratic values, to proper communication, all right? No matter what you do. Look at Ukraine. Ukraine was occupied many times. Ukraine was occupied by Poland. Before Poland, Ukraine was occupied by, I don't know, Mongols, all right? But from the most recent history, Ukraine was occupied by Poland, by Russians, by Germans, by Russians again. 70 years Ukrainians spent under the Russian occupation, being repressed culturally, politically, all right, ethnically repressed. We were repressed. Russia killed millions of Ukrainian people with hunger, with artificial famine. And throughout decades, Russians tried to establish this policy of deconstructing Ukrainian nation, just like they deconstructed Yakuts, Buryats, everyone else. Where is Polish-Lithuanian Kingdom? It doesn't exist. Where is Tsarist Russian Empire? It ceased. Where is Third Reich? It collapsed. Where is Soviet Union? It also collapsed, right? Where are they? Time to time you meet people who say, I'm a citizen of Soviet Union. There's no Soviet Union. They all collapsed. Ukraine exists. Because it takes a lot of effort to kill a nation, all right? And especially it takes a lot of effort to kill a nation which wants to survive and is more dedicated to survive than you're dedicated to killing it. And the same with democracy, because our society, I'm talking globally, the Europeans, our society came to this idea of democratic values, idea of freedom, all right, idea of people freedoms. Over years, they came to this, and it doesn't matter what sort of dictatorship takes over next time. That's just in case you feel a bit depressed, all right? Somewhere in Hungary, for example. No matter what sort of dictatorship takes over, eventually your society, it may take 70 years like in Ukraine, but eventually your society will still return to this, all right? Will still return to the democratic values, to freedoms, and things like that. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm not a politician. That's just something that I can see based on my observation of history and Ukrainian history, of course, and things like that. We were talking about Trump meeting Putin. So I don't really know what to comment here. Again, my friends, you know better, like there are Americans there. Greetings to the beautiful Cardiff. Oh my God, I missed you so much. I missed you, my friend, and Cardiff. Pass my greetings to the local population, please. So, I would send a pigeon, but I'm afraid that someone will eat it. We're talking about Putin and Trump's meeting. Again, you know better. I'm actually learning a lot from you, my friends. And if their meeting takes place, it won't result in anything good for us. All right, because Trump is the only person with some actual power who actually enables terrorist Putin's regime. Only Trump will save Putin. That's my personal opinion. Unless you're Russian, so you will not return to democracy, you will return back to the swamps. Oh my God, this is so true, my friend. This is so true. There is something about Russia, like I don't know. Let me ask ChatGPT one thing, all right? Because I completely forgot the name of this classic. Wait a minute. It's necessary, all right? My dear friend ChatGPT Almighty, blessed be your name, please tell me this. What sort of Russian classics once said that wake me up 100 years from now and I will tell you exactly what Russia looks like. The people are stealing and drinking.
That's a pretty well-known quote that's usually attributed to Mikhail Saltykov-Shchedrin. He was a satirist from the 19th century who had a pretty sharp tongue when it came to describing Russian society. So you're definitely channeling some of that classic Russian wit and cynicism there.
Can you tell me what exactly his quote sounded like?
Yeah, of course. So the quote is basically along the lines of, just wake me up in 100 years and I'll tell you exactly what's happening in Russia. They're drinking and they're stealing. In Russian, it's something like, через 100 лет разбудите меня, я скажу вам, что в России делают, пьют и воруют. So it's just a kind of timeless jab at the consistency of those old social habits. And, you know, it's a little dark humor, but definitely one of his more famous lines.
And which year was that quote made at?
You know, it's actually a bit fuzzy because Saltykov-Shchedrin didn't write that line down as a neat dated quote in one specific year. It's more of a famous paraphrase of his overall satirical tone that people kind of piece together from his works in the late 1800s. So there's no exact timestamp on it, but it definitely comes from that era.
1800s, which years? Tell me like approximate years.
Sure. So if we're putting a ballpark on it, Saltykov-Shchedrin was active mostly in the mid to late 1800s. So you're looking at somewhere probably in the range of the 1860s to 1880s when he was writing a lot of his really famous satirical stuff. So yeah, somewhere in that latter half of the 19th century is a pretty good approximation.
So, my dear friends, 1880, Russian classics, Saltykov-Shchedrin. said, wake me up 100 years from now, I will tell you exactly what Russians are doing, drinking and stealing, and lying, of course, right? Lying. It was 150 fucking years ago. So the quotes there in the comments that, yeah, Russians will always return to dictatorships. Yes, that's the case. Unfortunately, nothing changed. For Ukraine, for Ukraine that survived 70 years under the Russian occupation. It took us decades to rehabilitate. We're still fighting against the legacy of the Soviet regime, like corruption and things like that. Yes, look, Amato, pre-Russo-Japanese War, exactly. But we are Europeans. You ask any Ukrainian, and he or she will tell you that, yeah, we're Europeans. Fuck Soviet regime. We want democracy, we want peace, we want transparency. And for Russians, it's different. That is something that makes them Russian. All the proper Russian people that I know, they don't live in Russia. They run away from that place, all right? I don't know. Look at China and Taiwan, for example. If you want to experience real Chinese culture, you don't go to China, you go to Taiwan, because that's exactly where the Chinese elites ran to from the communist repressions, all right, in China. That's exactly where they ran to. And if you want to get more acquainted with the real traditional Chinese culture, you go to Taiwan. Same with the Russian culture. If you want to experience some whatever attracts you, all right, in the Russian culture, is it matryoshka or balalaika? I don't give a fuck. But if you are attracted to this culture, you don't go to Russia. You go to New York, for example, and go to I don't know, Brooklyn, and find some Russian stores there, Russian people living there, and you experience Russian culture there. Or go to Thailand, for example, meet sanctioned Ivan and experience Russian culture there. Or go to Canada, meet the Russian dude. Or go to the UK, meet the amazing Vlad Wexler and talk to him. That is where you can experience some true Russian culture. You won't find it in Russia. In the terrorist federation, the only thing you can find is the terrorist Russian culture. All right, the culture that makes normal Russian people run away. Okay, so I don't know how to I don't know how to cure those people. No idea. Exactly. No one wants to live in the mosquito-infested swamp that freezes over winter. Absolutely. Best way to get China culture is have a wife from China. Everything in the house becomes China. I don't know. I don't have this experience, but my lady is Persian, and I already have a bunch of Persian carpets here. I swear I would never have them in my life if not for that. But yeah, I already I can show you. So that's something cool. Do we talk about food yet? Let me know if you're hungry enough so I could torture you with something. I remember this Odessa restaurant in Dresden. Oh, it was so nice. The very place is good, it's cozy, it's warm, and it's basically located in the downtown, not far from the Zwinga something. Damn it, how that place is called. It's big historical complex in the downtown, and the restaurant is across the street basically. I started with, yeah, of course, I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about that. Sushi. So, sushi and plov, my dear friends. I actually planned to prepare plov a couple of weeks ago, but again, I got sick and couldn't do that much. But plov is something I really, really want to do. Plov is Uzbek national cuisine, and it's highly popular in Ukraine because it's basically rice, meat, onions, carrots, everything cooked together with a lot of garlic and things like that. Would you consider the Caucasus Mountains people area part of Russia? No, absolutely not. Again, Russians managed to basically deconstruct a lot of nations, a lot of occupied nations like Buryats and Yakuts, and dozens of others that don't exist anymore. But on the Caucasus, it's absolutely different, all right? Because on the Caucasus, they have some very, very strong traditions. Russia only managed to incorporate those nations that it conquered into its system, all right? And basically, if you take a look at Chechnya, for example, we will talk about Kadyrov a bit later. If you take a look at Chechnya, the way Russians managed to take over the country is basically by finding an asshole, all right, that would agree to be purchased. Ramzan Kadyrov, all right? And basically, this is how they did it. They invested some tiny money, and they got rid of their enemy, all right? Kadyrov recently, after good Ukrainian drones hit the some high rise in Grozny, Kadyrov decided to challenge Ukrainian armed forces, and he said, let's have Strelka. What is Strelka? Strelka in the Russian criminal jargon is basically when two groups of bandits meet somewhere and fight, all right, solve problems with knives or guns. And Kadyrov decided to basically offer Strelka to the Ukrainian defenders. So the response came from Ukrainian defenders. The response came from the Chechen fighters fighting in the battalion of Jahar Dudayev in Ukraine against the Russian invaders. They recorded a video showing their location, saying, Kadyrov, you want Strelka? Here is the Strelka, here we are. We're waiting for your fucking ass to arrive here and solve our problems like men, all right? And of course, we will not see Kadyrov going there ever. Won't happen, all right? Let's be honest. But it was a good response. So, considering Dagestan, South Ossetia that they snatched from Germany, oh my God, Georgia, that they temporarily occupy in Georgia. South Ossetia, North Ossetia, Abkhazia, again occupied. I believe that they found their approach, all right? First of all, those nations were conquered, and the way they were conquered, they were comparably tiny, all right? The problem was that Russia literally threw a lot of manpower and conquered those nations. And some of them were basically bribed. And unfortunately, it works. So it's very interesting. Again, the Chechens, but not like the Chechens, the Kadyrovites, all right? The Kadyrovites have a lot of privileges in Russia. In Russia, for example, in the Moscow downtown, you will barely see people, I don't know, conducting the public disturbance, all right, because they will be arrested immediately. But if it's a Chechen wedding, like 10 cars, expensive cars, driving down the street, Kadyrovites shooting out of windows, and I shit you not, it happens for real in Moscow. If you see that, the Russian cops will be like, nice weather, you know. They will just ignore that because Kadyrovites have privilege. And by the way, a lot of Russian cops are Kadyrovites themselves, all right? A lot of Russian OMON, all those fuckers, they are Kadyrovites, like ethnic Kadyrovites. So they have a lot of privilege, and all that is done because Putin doesn't want to lose their support. He finds ways. Here he will bribe somebody, here he will repress somebody. And why actually fight against the Chechen freedom fighters if you can make Kadyrovite troops fight against them instead? So that is his policy. And unfortunately, it works not only in Chechnya, but in other Caucasian regions as well. Georgia, again, it's a tragedy that what happened there. It's a complete tragedy. Currently, if I, as a Ukrainian person, if I wanted to go to Georgia, with all my background of serving in the Ukrainian army and everything else, first of all, they might not let me in, all right, because of this YouTube channel, for example. But if they would let me in, they would probably send me to some, I don't know, Russian prison, all right, again, because of this YouTube channel. So whatever option you choose is not really good. Kadyrov's death culture is the norm. Yeah, absolutely. But on the other hand, Kadyrov doesn't like death himself much, right? He prefers cars, wealth, prefers receiving some medals from himself time to time. The reform leader for Wales, that one is crazy. Reform leader for Wales got more than 10 years in prison for taking bribes for Moscow. Who would have thought? Oh my God! How could this happen? Who would expect that, right? Literally, how many evidence do we need to present to the society? So they would finally understand, all the far left folks and all the far right folks, they all receive bribes from Kremlin directly, all right? Because they are the only forces that can actually change things. I mean, change the current system, current democratic system, all right? If you want to remove democracy in Europe, don't work with Democrats, work with far right and far left. And basically, I don't know how many more evidence we need to present to the society so they would finally understand. Don't support the marginal movements. Don't support the far left and far right. Support democracy. Find proper people. Vote for people who can change things, but don't vote for Kremlin's puppets. More reform getting investigated. Yeah. I hope it's not too late. But on the other hand, I have a very, very good, strong confidence in British people, because British people are very much immune against Russian bullshit. They are naturally immune to the Russian bullshit. Not all of them, but comparing them to other people, including Ukrainians, by the way, the Brits are admirable, absolutely. Good morning, my friend. It's nice to see you too. And oh my God, I missed you, my friend, so much. I missed streaming. Finally, I have this opportunity. We are losing our freedoms in the USA, breaking me inside. Well, I believe that your nation can do things right. Okay? I have strong confidence in you, my friends, because again, if we're talking about freedom and democracy, of course, your imagination usually portrays the American flag, because you guys, you are the ones who inspired the whole world to fight for the human rights, for freedoms and stuff. I don't know. Martin Luther King was famous, all right, in the United States. He was born in the United States. And he brought his beautiful ideas on the American land. So you guys are the ones who inspire us. The current situation in the United States, again, I don't really feel comfortable commenting on that. You would rather prefer, I don't know, listening to, for example, Mercado's or Greg Terry's comments on that. I'm not an American. I'm not really good at understanding the situation in the United States based on my experience. So I base it on your experience, my friends. I learned from you. But that is a challenge, and because in the United States you still have the democratic society, you still have it, all right? It didn't go anywhere. And you still have a lot of power and values that make America America. You can do that. You can overcome and withstand any challenges like that. So don't be upset. Don't be demoralized. Listen to Jake Bro. Yeah, absolutely. Listen to Jake Bro and other YouTubers while we are not banned on YouTube, all right? While we still can talk. Did Vladimir get Donald pregnant in the early 2000s? I think he got him pregnant in like 1987 when Donald Trump went to Russia officially to buy some property. But the question is, how exactly do you buy property in the communist state, which is not a capitalist country? Like, how exactly do you do that? So I think that's around the time Trump was made pregnant, all right. I would rephrase, not pregnant, but infected with the Russian world. You think they will come after us? 100%. They already do. First of all, look at the repressions against the press in the United States, committed by MAGA, by the way. We are talking about banning Associated Press from the White House and all that stuff. Also, look at resurrection of Russian rupors like Team Pool. And that's just the beginning, because Google is an American company. So very, very soon, it is more than possible that Jake Bro maybe my channel, if they consider it more or less influential. Mercado, all the guys who have different points of view that is different from MAGA, that is different from all the far left and far right folks, there is a very, very big chance that you will see less of us, all right? Where do we go after that? TikTok. TikTok is Chinese. Blue Sky, we cannot stream there. Telegram, meh. I don't know. Discord. What else? I don't know. Maybe I'll just build my own channel, register it in Australia, and stream directly on my own website. That'd be cool. Yeah, Katya, TikTok was a joke, all right? TikTok is eating out my brain. I don't watch it. I hate it, all right? TikTok reminds me so much of, like, you know, this old school Russian VKontakte social network that was... we were blessed with closing the VKontakte in Ukraine in 2017 or 18. We were completely blessed with the government's decision to do that. You can stream on Twitch. How popular is Twitch? Let me know, because I don't know if Twitch, like, I don't even know what it looks like, all right? 4chan, yes, absolutely. That I can do. 4chan is a great place. Returning to Twitch, I don't know how it works, and do people generally know about Twitch, all right? Because I don't remember any of my friends ever talking about Twitch. So I don't even know if it's kind of popular. Twitch is popular with Gunners. I know that Twitch is popular with gamers, all right? It's pretty popular. The rules are different. I also know that Twitch sometimes bans people for expressing their opinion. So me, I think I would be banned there immediately. Which Twitch? The Twitch. The Twitchy. Twitch is quite popular for streaming in general, also politics. Apple. Question number 1, is Twitch American? Because Google is. You need OBS software to do Twitch. Yeah, that's the thing, because I hate OBS. I hate it so much. I am using the eCam, and I'm so much satisfied with it. In the end, we will have to resurrect the good old IRC. Oh my God, I remember this. I was 14... No, I was okay. 1990, I was 5. 1995, I was 10. 1996, 7. So I was 12 years old, and I would surf the IRC chats, talking to people from around the world, learning English. All right. There was this funny guy from India. He was like, "Oh, you're from Ukraine? You're Chernobyl?" I'm like, "Yeah, Chernobyl." He's like, oh, are you a mutant? I'm like, yeah, I have 2 brains and you have none. That was kind of funny and cruel. But IRC chats, oh my god, I remember them. I remember learning how to fight people on IRC, how to find their IP and like, ping them and stuff like that. It was so cool. There was so much soft that you could download and hack people. That was so fun. Oh my god, good old IRC, ICQ, things like that. IRC Telnet, what is the age average here? Age average in this chat, I would say people who either already grown up enough to buy beer, or people who already retired from the job and enjoy the life the way it is, all right, as much as it can be enjoyed today. Do you still remember your ICQ number? I had several of those. I remembered it for years, and thank God I forgot it. "1981, baby, yay!" Yo, Swaggins, I'm 41. I'm 40. So, yeah, 30s, 50s. Maybe a bit more. I don't know. I don't want to sound like, like those people who say, like, when I was young, the world was a better place. My country was better, and my health was better. When I was young, I remember, some proper shit. I don't want to sound like that, but actually that's us. We are all here, all right. And despite the age, based on what I read in the comments, we all feel like we're still 16. I do personally. I don't know. Look at that. Matt, 69. Extelis Venimus, 1969. 69, fuck it. 1969. Whoa, we have some very, very interesting community here. We have like, a secret order, secret 69 order. I still have my nick from 25 years ago on the interwebs. Ooh, like somewhere in this area of my brain, I kinda remember what the interwebs was, but I'm not sure. My mind feels 16, my joints feel 90. Yeah, that's the only problem. But besides that, yeah, it's very interesting. Say he both tick, but not in the state. Oh my god, this is so true. Yeah, I don't know. I talked to a friend yesterday, and we actually talked about it. That doesn't matter how old you are. If you feel like you're 16, you like that is your age, all right? Now, we also talked about people who actually live longer than 100 years. Interesting fact about those people is that they all say that you should always reward yourself with something, all right? So even if you have a stressful life, because there's a lot of people who survived 2 world wars, how freaking crazy is that? But they always say that you should relieve your stress somehow, reward yourself with something tasty. And this is something I am saying in every stream. My friends, reward yourself with something tasty because it makes you feel longer, all right? It prolongs your life and also improves your psychological health. Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, press the button and walk away for making breakfast. Yeah. Ooh. Pentium 2 or Pentium 3. You open like a porn site and then you go like have breakfast and returning the evening after all the pictures load. Yeah, that's something that we had to suffer, yeah, back in the 90s. My grand aunt lived to 102 years. Yeah, that's impressive. Someone on the internet says that our genetic age, like genetically, human beings should live up to like 120 years. Which I am not sure if is true because I don't know much about those things, all right, genetics, medicine. The only thing we miss discussing on this channel is like genetics and medicine. Yeah, but that's something very interesting because if you listen to, for example, people who are, into more like conspiracies and esoterics, and Russians, of course, they go like, back in the days, people lived 200 years and still could do stuff, all right? If you listen to historians, they will tell you, dude, if you reach 40 years, all right, in like 17th century, you're considered an old man. Because then you just die. Like back in those days, the lifespan was very, very short. And the reason for that was the state of the the state of the medicine itself, all right? The medical supplies and things like that. And like people would die from diarrhea easily because of dehydration. And also the food, because human beings are naturally carnivorous, all right? I'm not promoting meat eating, all right? But human beings, like it's confirmed that we are primarily carnivorous, which helped us survive the Ice Age. And back in those days, when we switched to growing stuff, growing crops, making bread, making porridge, and things like that. After that, our lifespan, didn't increase much. Because if we're talking about villages in the medieval Europe, where peasants would see meat like once a year, all right, primarily having bread with, like, primarily having vegetarian diet, but again, not high quality vegetarian diet. So it's obvious and not surprising that the lifespan was so short. Now you go to Lidl or Aldi or whatever, Walmart, and 7-Eleven, and buy yourself a bunch of meat, burgers, I don't know, the sushi, whatever you like. And we have a very, very good access to proper medicine and proper food. That is why we live so long. I'm not sure if people in 17th century would live up to like 70 years old, 80 years old like today. Today it's considered, Great-grandfather 1850, 1936, 86 years old, and his grandson was 90 when he died. We live a very long life, yeah. Yeah, but again, 18th, 19th century, we had a lot of different products available for us due to, unfortunately, due to colonialism, but also increased trade. Goodies were surfing between the Americas and European continent, between Europe and India, all right, China as well. And we acquired access to different things. It's crazy to actually read old recipes. Do you imagine borscht without tomatoes? How was it possible? But actually tomatoes were brought, as far as I remember, from America. Wait a second. Let's ask a vice person. Dear ChatGPT, did we bring tomatoes and potato from Americas, or they were growing in Europe already back then in the 18th, 17th century?
Oh, that's a neat bit of history. So yeah, both tomatoes and potatoes actually came from the Americas originally. They were brought over to Europe after the Columbian Exchange, which was that big swap of plants, animals, and all sorts of stuff between the old and new worlds, starting in the late 15th century. So before that, Europeans didn't have tomatoes or potatoes. It's kind of wild to imagine Italian food without tomatoes, right? But yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, dear ChatGPT, but imagine this. 17th century, or even 17th century, in Ukraine, they cook borscht without potato and tomato. How crazy is that? You wouldn't have fried tomato, fried potato. You wouldn't have mashed potato, all right? You wouldn't have all that because it simply didn't exist in Europe back in those days. It's crazy. But later we started acquiring more and more access to more and more different food products. And that is why our lifespan also started increasing, all right? Started growing instead of shrinking. I make borscht without tomatoes because I'm allergic to tomatoes. It happens. So instead of tomatoes, you can also use beetroots, which I think you do. All right. I have this very interesting pack in the fridge from the Polish store. It's called Ukrainian borscht, Barsz Ukraiński. So when you open it, 99% of the content is basically beetroot, like chunks of beet. And the rest is a bunch of other stuff, but primarily it's just like beet, all right? So you just drop it in the water and you have this amazing red beverage, okay? That was something because last year I actually cooked borscht for my lady. She blamed me of not being a real Ukrainian because I didn't cook borscht, all right? So I decided to cook it. And I bought this stuff in the Polish store. I brought it home. And when I dropped it in the pot, I noticed that that's literally just beet, nothing else. So I took cabbage, I cut the cabbage, I dropped it in the pot. What else? I took some meat, beans. I don't like borscht with beans. I know that Jonathan likes borscht with red beans. I don't like beans generally, but I respect your choice. And I cooked perfect borscht. Like it tasted the way my mom cooks it. All right, well, almost, because nobody cooks the borscht like my mom. But it was really good. I consider myself stuck at 28:30 mentally. What does it mean? What does it mean to feel 30? Like I don't know. It's like, again, even when you're 30, you can either feel like you're 55 or you can feel like you're 16. So I think the point is whether you feel young. That's the thing. And whether your physical condition allows you to feel young or whether you feel young despite your body. Probably that's the thing. Borscht with dumpling. You mean like dumplings in the borscht? Because that's something I have never heard in my entire life. To our English friends in chat, I have a question. Is there for real boar with peppermint sauce in England? Boar with peppermint sauce. Oh my god, it sounds so good. Just like polskie górki, yeah. Oh my god. Guys, I'm starving here, seriously. I think I will have to wrap it up because I just need to go and eat something. I have das Eiersalat, der Eiersalat, das Eiersalat. Wait a second. The egg salad. Der Eiersalat. Yeah, so I have some of that. I have some of the kotlets. Unfortunately, I don't have polskie górki, but that's something that I will buy later tonight. All right. Hey, much love to Australia, to the beautiful Australian people. Der Eiersalat, yeah. Eiersalat, not salat. So 30 was 41 years ago. I feel pretty good. Kudos. Yeah, that's something that, again, I started understanding probably in my late 30s, that there's a lot of different discrimination, all right? Like, we all know that. Discrimination, racial discrimination, social discrimination. But one of the biggest discrimination that we have in ourselves is age discrimination. That is something that exists for some reason in all of us. All right, when we're young, we don't consider, for example, older people worth communicating with, which is like, it's crazy. Why we don't do that? Because basically they're mentally they're our age. All right. So after you're turning 21, not 18, because 18 you still cannot buy beer, but after you're turning 21, you just become a part of the ageless society, and that's it. The only thing that I don't know, you gotta have respect to all the people. That's what I'm trying to say. Age is what happens to your mind when you stop actively learning. Yes, I agree. The other day I read an exciting publication in the Ukrainian media about a Ukrainian 78-year-old lady who discovered gaming, and she plays freaking Counter-Strike, Battlefield and things like that. She likes first-person shooters for some reason. But it's insane. Next time we have coffee and news updates, I will show this video to you. It's insane. And she enjoys it. And actually, I see myself in this lady, because that's exactly what I want to do when I'm 78, pardon. I just want to play games online with my grandchildren, all right? Or great-grandchildren. We'll be playing good old Arma 2, all right? I will punish suckers. I will show them what the real war is. So, or building stuff in like No Man's Sky, or flying helicopters. Yeah, that's something that I was dreaming about since I was like 20, to retire, to have some kick-ass PC. And I know that when I am 78, probably we will have computers that are carried like, attachable somewhere here, or like carried like, hair clip or something. And they will be VR compatible. You just close your eyes and you have virtual reality. All right. And the connection will be much better as well. Maybe not in Germany though. Maybe she can become a drone pilot. Maybe, and most definitely she can. And speaking of the drone pilots, maybe I will make some small collaboration with the guys who developed the drone pilot game. I think it's called Drone Pilot Game. It's on Steam. I'm not sure if it's already available, but maybe I will do some collaboration with them if you want it, all right? If you are interested, because that's basically a drone simulator. You're simulating the process of controlling a drone and hitting the Russian invaders. So if you like, please let me know there in the chat, and we will have that collaboration easily. With that, my dear friends, I'll be heading to the kitchen because I am freaking starving. Oh my god, we are talking about food, and now I was torturing you all this time, and now I'm torturing myself as well. I'm losing my grip. I'm gonna have Eiersalat und Koteletts und Frikadelle for the lunch, with plenty of coffee. The reason today I started a bit later is because I ran out of coffee, so I literally had to rush to the gas station and buy myself a pack of coffee, so I could have this stream this morning. And also, thank you so much. First of all, thanks everyone who supports my channel big time via PayPal. I received several donations. Thank you so much. Directly, all right. I don't often respond fast on PayPal because I don't often read the messages coming from PayPal, and I don't receive the notifications from PayPal for some reason. Same as with the Instagram. So basically, Instagram and PayPal chats are dead on my phone. But thank you so much for supporting my channel. Thank you so much for your Christmas gifts, all right. I appreciate it big time. And actually, your support let me travel to places like Dresden and go to different museums and things like that. It's very, very important to me. So I appreciate it. Also, big thanks to Katya, bravely protecting us today in the chat. And as always, all right, fighting Russian bots. And also big thanks to everyone who joined today. It was a pleasure to see you, my friends. I miss you every time, and 3 weeks without streaming is like, it's actually a torture. And it was a shame when I couldn't stream, literally because I couldn't talk. It sucks. I don't know. I never knew that the very fact of having this communication will be based on the ability to speak, which is crazy. But yeah, that's something I learned, and thank you so much for supporting me all this time. Have something good, have something tasty, and this evening let me know if you had something good, because maybe I will order something to surprise you, all right, and torture you on the pictures. All right, my dear friends, I'm running and wishing you a beautiful day. We'll see you later. And as always, be safe. Bye-bye.